Hello! Welcome to The Healing Artist. I'm your host, Frida, and today, friends, I have such a neat treat for you. I have been dipping my toes into the social media platform Threads, and that's where I came across our guest today, Lauren Courtney. Lauren is a master energy healer and spiritual life coach with over a decade of experience in Eastern studies, guiding clients through emotional, spiritual, physical, and mental transformation. Certified as a holistic health coach, holy fire, Karuna Reiki master, and Kundalini yoga teacher, Lauren helps her clients quiet the noise of the culturally conditioned self so that they can reconnect with their truth and awaken the guru within. Lauren is also a best-selling author of the book Glow Up Your Chakras from Medicated to Meditated. Welcome, Lauren, to the Healing Artist.
Thank you so much for having me. I love that we found each other on Threads because it's new for me too, and I feel like I'm having the best time over there. It feels, at least my feed at the moment, feels really authentic and real.
I absolutely would agree with that. Like, I've never had a ton of success on Instagram. Like, I love the pictures quality of it, but it was always just like coaches throwing stuff, and it was very strange. And then finding this addition with the threads, and then not necessarily seeing as many pictures and just reading people's words. Like, I found some folks on there that I'm like, oh, I want to meet you. I want to talk to you. That sound you sound interesting.
Totally. It's like a whole when you move the pictures and just see the words, it really gives a whole other perception to the human experience.
I'd love to know more about Glow Up Your Chakras from Medicated to Meditated. When did you write this? And tell us a little bit about that journey.
Yeah, well, the journey. So the book officially was published in May of 2025. So she is still a new baby out in the world, just starting to walk around. And I started writing it really about 7 years ago.
Oh,
Only when
wow.
I started writing it, it was a chakra healing cookbook. So I should mention that Glow Up Your Chakras has four parts. Part one is the medicated to medicated part, which is more my story. Part two is learning about the chakras. And of course, it's memoir meets. So it's really storytelling through the chakras. I share my highs and lows of each chakra. And then part three is all about eating for your intuition and how to eat for your chakras. So it started 7 years ago as I'm going to create this chakra healing cookbook. And at the time, I used to be a private chef many years ago, which I talk about all throughout the book. But when I started the book 7 years ago, and then about 3 years ago, I had a huge pivot. My grandmother passed away. And as a medium, she started coming through to me, and her guidance was stop seeing so many clients. You're going
Mm.
to burn out. You need to write your book.
Mm.
And again, I thought that was my cookbook. So I pulled that file up that had been buried down deep and I started writing. And through the writing, I also knew it was time for me to go deeper into shadow work.
Mm.
And the new layers of shadow work that I've done over the last 3, 4 years allowed me to free myself from the shame that I had been carrying from different stories. I mean, I talk about in the book my relationship to drugs, to alcohol, having an affair. I talk about body dysmorphia. I talk about, the things that maybe we don't put on Instagram because they don't look so pretty. And my intention with that is really when we heal the parts of ourselves that we hide and put it out in the world, it creates the space for others to also free themselves from their shame.
Oh God, I feel that so deeply. Um, a couple things that's bringing up. One is I myself I'm in recovery from an eating disorder I had for 25 years. And when I started to really bring it forward and talk about it in healing circles, now I'm so open and free talking about it because there isn't that shame anymore. But back when I was locked into that addictive addiction of the ED, like it was the idea of bringing that forward or telling anyone was the most shameful thing in the world. So then being able to share that, it was so freeing.
Yeah,
And
it
oh
really
God.
is.
And
It
the other
really is.
thing, yeah.
I'd say that was one of my hardest chapters to write. That and a chapter about my ex-boyfriend being arrested in my home. That one was pretty tough too. Didn't want to relive that, but needed to, right? Because we all have these kind of things. But the body dysmorphia, I grew up on Long Island,
Mm,
and I'm 42. So growing up, the magazines were all about be skinny, look this way. This person lost all this weight, and it was always so weight focused and focused on appearance that it seemed so normal. So being able to really pull back the curtain on that and understand, hey, this isn't actually aligned with your truth and who you
mhm.
are as a soul having a human experience.
Yes.
It's been so freeing.
And the way that friends, I was able to read the first chapter of Lauren's book and just the way that it is so conversational. I feel like we're sitting across each other, like having a cup of coffee and you're just dishing. I'm looking forward to the rest of the book. It's just really so, I don't want to use the word salacious, but just open, but also just
You
like
can
and
use the word
freeing and like,
salacious. It's totally salacious.
but it's like that hot goss, but it's not goss. It's like like you're open up and you're like, look, this is what's going on. So it's like, oh my God. And it just feels so freeing because it's like, yes, I understand. I hear you. I'm in there with you.
Yeah, it's interesting. I remember years ago saying, well, I would, not that I was running for president, but I would never run for president because I wouldn't want anyone to find out about my stories because it is gossip, right? And at points in time, people were gossiping about my experiences, whether with me, to me, or behind my back, right? And we all experience gossip. The sister wound that so
Mhm.
many of us experience through friendships
Yeah.
is very real. So when I decided to put my stories in the book, it was like, here's my gossip. If you want to talk about me, I did it first.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it gives you all of your power back instead of being in fear around what are people saying and thinking about me.
Absolutely. Yeah. I hear that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and also it's almost like a door is being open to being like, oh, I've been there too.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's been really my favorite thing since the book came out is so many people from totally different backgrounds than me relate in ways that I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even know that this would resonate for this person. I had feelings, right? That's why I was guided to write it. But to hear the feedback and how it's resonating, and not just with women, with men who are really just blown away by some of the things that they're learning through the book. And when I put the book out in the world, I finally said, okay, I guess I'll niche down. Everyone wants you to like have your niche, right? And I was like, okay, my market's going to be women. And it's been amazing how many men have approached me since getting the book or someone gifting it to them and wanting to talk about it.
Hmm. Well, I can imagine because of its ease and flow with the read that it would just be able to draw people in too.
Yeah, absolutely.
With your healing journey, how did that begin? What did you begin to study first, or how did things unfold for you?
So it's really interesting because when you look back on a healing journey, I think we're in it before we even know we're in it.
Yes, I love that.
So there are so many levels and layers, but it really comes back to I was working in corporate America. And I had just had my third jaw surgery, a reconstructive jaw surgery, which I talk about in the book. I had surgery at 17, 21, and 24. And At the surgery at 24, I had to take a leave of absence from work and decided at that time that I wasn't happy, that I wanted a job that was more 9 to 5, if that was possible. I ended up finding that job. But long story short, I started getting in this inner knowing, which I now, of course, understand to be my intuition, that I'm here to help people heal. And it
Mm,
was like this repeated thing I kept hearing. I am here to help people heal. So the next thing I knew, I was guided to start cooking more. And I started a food blog. And the next after that, coworkers were asking me to make them lunches because they thought mine looked better. So I started doing that. And then, long story short, it's all in the book. I broke my foot, and it was the foot out of the door from corporate America. I had to take a leave of absence, and I never went back to work. I instead enrolled in school to become a holistic health coach.
okay.
From there, I was led to actually, I started working as a chef. I didn't study to be a chef. I cooked the dietary theories, all of the ones that I learned and connected to while I was in nutrition school. But I had friends in recovery, and one of their friends was opening a high-end recovery home in Manhattan, and they needed a chef. So I ended up starting there as a private chef, helping people recover from food, drug, and alcohol addiction.
Hmm.
Started my own meal delivery service, and then 9.5 years ago, I thought like, this is it. I've made it. I left corporate. I found my path. And 9.5 years ago, my first love passed away.
Mm.
And the day he crossed over, he began communicating with me.
Mm.
I had no idea that let alone being a medium, I didn't know I was a soul having a human experience.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, I was very much in the human realm, living in New York City, thought this is life. And the only deaths I had experienced were grandparents. And, for all intents and purposes, they were old and you die and you go in this box. But Jeff was very clear that he did not just die and end up in a box, because the same day he passed, he was very much standing next to me, and I could feel his energy, and music was changing stations, like all these crazy synchronicities were happening. And
Wow.
that led me to Reiki, and that was my
Okay.
first tool.
Very cool. Very cool. Is mediumship something that you encounter every day? How does that play a part in your life for?
So I would say yes. And I think the thing to understand about mediumship, it's not just about communicating with people that have crossed over or communicating with archangels. Yes, those are things. For me, my mediumship shows up in everyday life in connection to animals is one of the biggest things. I get messages in actual physical signs that I see, the numbers on license plates, right? Like this is all the universe communicating with us. So whether you call yourself a channel, you call yourself a medium, you're tuned in
Mhm.
to the frequency of the universe is my opinion of what a medium truly is.
Yeah. Yeah, I had taken a mediumship course with Marie Mandicherry, and it was very specifically because, like, I do everything that you just talked about, but hers was very specifically like tuning into specifically passed on loved ones and stuff, which is really interesting because they come to me when they want to on their terms. It's less
Yeah.
about me like being like, "Hey, grandma, let's have a conversation."
So I actually like anyone that looks at my website, you will not see a mention of medium,
Okay.
because when I connect with crossover loved ones, it will happen, of course, in sessions because I do healing work with clients. And if someone wants to come through that's going to pertain to that healing and a message someone needs, of course, I'll deliver it. For the most part, though, my mediumship is something that's really playful and natural. For instance, I was taking a long walk on Sunday with a girlfriend here in Miami, and we were crossing over this bridge, and we bumped into these two women she had met. I didn't know them. And one of them starts saying, I keep meeting people while I'm in Miami named Alex. I met this girl named Alex, this guy named Alex, someone else named Alex. And as she's saying it, a guy was rollerblading by, and I noticed a red Pac-Man ghost on his arm. And immediately I was like, oh, she's talking about someone that died. She's talking about a ghost. A spirit is with her. So I looked at her, I said, did you know someone named Alex perhaps that passed away? Because I feel like they're with you. Did you they're like, and I pointed out the ghost and she was like, oh, I was saying yesterday that my friend Alex passed away and I remembered he passed away in Florida. So immediately then we had the connection and I was able to share more messages with her that wanted to
Nice.
come through. But again, it was because I was out, I was in the sunshine, I was playing, I was laughing, I was just in my own flow. I don't like to put pressure on a spirit to come through that doesn't align with what works for me.
Beautiful. Yes, I love that. Yes, I feel similar. I feel like it works a little bit differently just for different people.
Yes,
Like
absolutely.
there's nothing wrong with the way the teacher was teaching. That's just simply the way that it works for her. Is like yeah.
Totally. Yeah, like
Hmm.
one of my best friends is a medium. That is her work. She
Hmm.
connects that way. And I send clients to her that want specific mediumship work, and she sends clients to me that need more of the healing work.
Yes. If folks wanted to work with you, what kind of what would that look like? What are sessions like?
So a session, every session is different because every client is truly different. What we're doing when I work with clients, whether it be in a single session or in a package of 8 sessions, is usually what I do is we're moving through the chakras. Typically, we're going to look for the one thing that's affecting the rest of your life based on what your goal is, right? If you're saying to me, my finances are, I'm really struggling financially. Okay, well, that comes back to the root chakra. What was your parents' relationship with money? What were the conversations being had around you? So we'll dig into the root chakra and start there to kind of pull that thread. Whereas if someone comes to me with gut health issues, that to me is an indication of the solar plexus and where have you given away your power and where can we look at things there.
How do you see the chakra system? How does it express itself to you?
I'm very clairaudient, so I hear kind of where to go.
Mm.
And I very much feel whether, I do a lot of my work on Zoom with clients, and then of course I do see clients in person as well. But it doesn't really matter. Distance isn't real, time and space don't exist when we're in the healing work. So I really just scan the body and feel what needs the most attention.
Cool. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So again, like I have my glow up your chakras sessions, which are anywhere from 60 to 90 minutes. It depends, what we need. I never cut them short. If we need more time, we have it. Where we kind of just pick one thing. And then if we're looking for deeper work where we're going to go into some shadow work as well, then we do a glow up package and really rewiring all of the chakras.
Cool. Very, very cool. I've been doing like a ton of work on my sacral chakra, my sacral and my root, just working there. The other ones are way more open. So I've been spending a lot of quality time down here with the other ones, but just making sure and just like spending a lot of time with the sacral and be like, you're okay, sweetheart. And like go to the root and be like, you're okay, sweetheart.
Yeah, well, I think
Yeah.
for so many of us that are spiritual, we tend to lean towards those upper chakras, and many of us tend to be out of out of body for a long time until we feel safe to actually enter into the embodiment. And I know for me, I was just out flying because it's easy to just play with spirit and live in that land.
Yeah.
Eventually, though, if you're going to be a healer, if you're going to be a teacher, if you're going to have a podcast and you're going to teach and share, you've got to ground the energy.
Oh, I could not agree more, 100%. I myself disassociated well into my, gosh, into my early 40s for sure.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. I mean, same.
Yeah.
Same. And
Yeah.
it's realizing because it almost hides from you. Like you're not even aware sometimes
Mhm.
of where the disassociation comes from.
Yeah.
And then your emotions get triggered and you have the reaction of a
Yeah.
child. And all of a
Yes.
sudden it's like, why am I acting like a kid on a playground that just had their toy stolen and I want my mom.
Yep.
And, and it's
Yeah.
that deep work.
Yeah, I did a lot of parenting and parts work during the pandemic. I was like, I know that the pandemic was genuinely challenging for a wide amount of people, but I was like, oh, thank God I have the time to do this finally because I was not putting the time
Absolutely.
in before. Yeah. Yeah, that's so interesting. Maybe you could actually speak more about disassociating away because that might be really interesting for the listeners.
Yeah, I mean, I think the disassociation, in my opinion, so much of it is when you experience a trauma, we can tend to disassociate, tend to leave our bodies. And sometimes we don't even know where we disassociate from. And I had been uncovering for the last 4 years my own disassociation. I knew there was a reason I didn't remember a lot of things from my childhood. And I had people say to me, well, maybe you were assaulted, maybe something happened to you that you don't remember. And I searched my subconscious over and over, and I kept combing through, and I was like, none of this is true. Something happened to me at birth. And I was so aware that something happened at my birth, and I knew most of my birth story already, but I knew something happened. And long story short, I was also aware that I didn't breathe properly. Not to the point that anyone else would notice, but if I did breath work, I noticed, why can't I breathe deeper? Like my diaphragm isn't expanding. And a year ago, after studying Kundalini yoga 2 years ago, I had a woman come into my class that I had met through social media who's a myofunctional therapist. And she was able to diagnose that I had a tongue tie, which
Oh,
typically tongue ties you find out when you're a baby. So for those that don't know, it's the frenulum under the tongue that holds the tongue down. I had one of the worst tongue ties she'd ever seen.
oh, did they correct it as an infant or did they
No,
snip
they
you or
never, I was never
oh.
corrected. It went undiagnosed. And it's what led me most likely to my 3 surgeries, to having ADD because I wasn't breathing properly. So I wasn't getting enough oxygen to my brain. And it led me to, of course, being medicated and my journey with medication. So I had the tongue tie released in May. Actually, right after the book came out, I went into prenatal yoga teacher training, went through my own rebirth, and the day after the training end, I had the tongue snipped.
Fascinating how that all unfolded.
It unfolded. It's like that's book number two for
Right?
sure. But my point in sharing that is I knew that there was something that wasn't right, that I had disassociated somehow, and I so desperately wanted to be in my body on a deeper level that I was never going to stop until I found the answer
Mhm.
to what that first thing was. Because I've done the past lives, I've done the lineage, but I knew there was something else. And I think it's important to share this because sometimes it is structural. And I remember I talked about it on Instagram, and someone wrote, well, just ask Jesus to clear it. And I work with Jesus. Like
And
I work in Holy Fire Reiki. It's the work of Jesus, and the ascended masters brought us to us now to be our own greatest healers. And I replied to that person, well, Jesus brought me to the
that
diagnosis
one.
so I could go get help, because unfortunately Jesus isn't coming with a laser to do the treatment and I can't breathe. It's the reality.
So much of a heart. Yes, I definitely, we each have carry Christ in our hearts and we have that temple from within then without. I'm sorry, I'm laughing. It's just really
No, it's
funny.
hilarious. It's so, and
Because
the
Jesus does
ability.
like there is that path there because the human that you met that even clued you in that that could be a tongue tie in the first place for you to investigate it, da, 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 da. Those are all the divine steps. And
Exactly.
then
And
we
I
have to
think
take
that's,
action.
yes, the action. Because if you're just waiting around, that laser ain't coming and you're not going to be able to talk.
Right. It's like that story where you're on a desert island and you're like, Jesus, please save me from the desert island. And a boat goes by and it's just like, no, Jesus, please save me. And a thing goes overhead, a helicopter. And it's like, no, come. It's like, well, I've sent you these things. What else do you need? Take some action and wave a flag around.
Yes, yes, yes.
Just recenter. I'm sorry. It's that literal interpretation of things that we need to get over that hump, but that's okay.
Yes, so that, yeah,
There's a level of comedy that gets reached also when there's a level of getting so deeply surrendered, and I think that this comes with being a teacher, which you are, um, when you are surrendered to the all that is and allowing God, universe, source to work through you in the world and flow through, the next aligned action step and the next thing and the next thing are presented. They get laid out in front of you, and it is your job to stay in the present moment to then take the aligned action steps to follow through with the X,
exactly.
Y,
And
and
that's
Z.
really the first start of the embodiment is
Yeah.
because when we're disembodied, that's the opportunity to be like, well, Jesus is going to come save me. And someone outside of me is going to save me. No, now you're relying on everything outside of yourself. You have this physical body for a reason
Mhm.
to be able to take the steps and to take the action. It doesn't mean to not live in alignment with God, source, all of the things. But God is guiding you somewhere because you have a purpose. You can't just sit in your house all day. We get to do more.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. And that is available for each and every one of us.
Yeah.
Should we choose it? I also don't think, though, that anybody is necessarily doing the wrong thing by thinking that someone's coming to save them because we're all in different places along our journey.
Exactly. It's all perfect. Like
Yeah.
it's all so perfect. Because I've also been there at points of my journey where I'm like, someone's gonna just come and save me and it's gonna be okay. And then, I took new steps on my journey, but I believe everything is so perfect in this world, even when it looks so messy and so tragic. And I understand there are horrible things happening in this world. I also understand we need the polarity to be able to find the light and what we actually desire in this world. And if there wasn't that other side, then how would we know because you need to be able to look in one mirror to be able to look in another.
I am right there with you. Yeah, I hear that. It's not an easy thing to talk about necessarily with just the general public,
No, not at all.
but it makes complete and total sense. Yeah, because
Yeah,
it's hard to reconcile the suffering.
absolutely. Because the last thing I want is anyone to suffer. And who am I to say that your soul didn't decide to come in this lifetime to experience suffering because that's part of your ultimate ascension?
Mhm. Right. Well, like even like the tongue tie would be something that you came in with in order to later in life then rectify the tongue tie because it led through all of the different things that the X, the Y, the Z led to the whatever the outcome.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I had to experience being medicated and having that part of my life really living in the shadows to be able to pull myself into the light and say, oh, wait, this feels really good. I want to live in more connection to this as opposed to this.
Well, it also primes you to be a helper to those who have been through something similar to help pull them out.
Yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
which I mean is important. And it's also interesting. So one of your first, you said, private chef jobs was then in a rehabilitation center for drugs, alcohol addiction. Like that's interesting. Then you got to just even be working with folks and seeing that peripherally,
Yeah.
what they
And
were
it's
going through.
interesting because even as the chef there, I was getting high. I was still smoking weed while working in recovery. Everyone else was drug tested. They never drug tested me. And I can see, right? I was living in duality. Like the God, Jesus, universe is showing me this is a sober path.
Mm.
And I was still dating someone who ultimately got arrested in my home because of his own stuff. But nonetheless, I was experiencing that. I was getting high when I had this whole other life available, but I wasn't ready yet. I still needed to touch the fire before I could see where I wanted to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and like what would you call it? That space between that transition period. Because it's like even with maybe getting high, you're like getting high less, or it's a little less, it's a little less, it's a little less as you move towards something else, maybe.
For me, it's kind of like once I'm done, and that's it.
Mm,
It's always actually like more, and then completion because I
mm,
no longer want it. And having that awareness that that is really actually my human design and being able to give myself grace and forgiveness when I have had those experiences.
yes. Yeah. Oh God. Sometimes we beat ourselves up the most.
Always.
Well, I'm trying to be more kind and compassionate with self.
Yes. That's the ultimate goal, right? If I
Yeah,
can unconditionally love myself and have that open heart chakra for me, then ultimately now I can transmit that frequency out into the world.
absolutely. So, jumping onto a slightly different topic, I'm curious. What is a meal for the heart chakra?
So the heart chakra is all green, right? When we see the
Mhm.
heart chakra green, of course, pink, but I lean towards leafy greens, or I have in the book a recipe for this creamy broccoli soup. It's
Ooh.
dairy-free and delicious. And that's typically my go-to is that or a leafy green salad, but we want to focus on green foods for the heart chakra.
Mm. Are all of the different chakras related to the color that they are?
They
Oh,
are.
interesting. Okay, so the
Yeah.
root
So
is
it's
like
really
deep.
like eating the rainbow and
Mhm.
connecting to that. And of course, the crown doesn't really have a color because the crown is all about connection to source, connection
Mhm.
to air, to breathing and sunlight. And
Mhm.
then the rest, the more we go up, the almost the less foods available for that color chakra because we're eating for enlightenment
Mm.
and to enlighten our bodies through the foods that we're eating.
Mm.
Even I'll give you an example. Last night I knew I had this interview today, so I was like, okay, well in the morning I'll probably just have bone broth to nourish my solar plexus to keep me grounded in my power. I'll have some tea and water, but I'm not going to eat anything too heavy because I like to be open and in my flow and in my
Mm.
higher chakras when I talk about these things. But being grounded is still important. So last night I had a bowl with organic beef and sweet potatoes and some cottage cheese, leafy greens, and some tomatoes of all the different colors with the intention of, okay, let me ground, let me connect with all of my chakras tonight, fill myself up so tomorrow I'm grounded in that energy and now I can fuel for what I need today.
That's a beautiful, I love that. I am not that connected to food, but I love that as a direction to head towards, thinking more intentionally about it.
Yeah, and it's fun. I talk about in the book how so many people get afraid of cooking. People are scared to cook. I can't make this recipe. I don't know what to cook. And I used to be that way. Before I was a chef in recovery, the best dish I made was reservations. Like I killed reservations. I knew
What
how to
is
make a
it?
no, like a reservation
Oh,
at a
oh, a
restaurant.
reservation at a restaurant.
That was my best recipe. I've got a reservation. What time do you want to meet me there? And then I started cooking, obviously, and it was trial and error. I actually, one of the first meals I cooked at the recovery house, I made chicken thighs, and they weren't cooked fully through.
Whoops.
And I thought they were gonna fire me, and they didn't because they needed me. But right, I got to learn. I saw what it was to fuck up, and I was like, okay, but did anyone die? No, we cooked them through, and everyone was fine. And through that, what I talk about in the book is everyone is an artist in some way. We have Picasso, we have Michelangelo. They create different art. So it's the same as if I gave you a recipe and then I created the same recipe at home. We have the same ingredients, but it's going to come out slightly different because we're the artist behind it. So I like to compare the food to going and getting your paints. Like go to the supermarket, get your different paint, come home, you have your pots and your pans. These are your brushes, and then your plate is your canvas. So,
Mm.
you know, instead of putting so much pressure, oh, it doesn't look like that perfect thing on Instagram or this or that, make it your art in a way
Mm.
that feels good to you as opposed to what it needs to look like.
Yeah, definitely. And where do you land on just processed food in general?
So, I've always kind of been shop the perimeter of the supermarket. That's
Yes.
where the fresh things are. Also, I'm not afraid to eat a potato chip or a snack. We chose to be in these human bodies to experience life. And I'm from New York originally. I grew up in a family of foodies. I am a foodie. So I like to try things. I also think the most important thing is balance and discernment and tuning into your intuition, asking yourself, why am I wanting this? Why am I craving this? For instance, if I'm craving chocolate, maybe I'll eat it today, right? But then if I have the craving again tomorrow, oh, maybe I'm low on magnesium. Is there something else my body is alerting me to? Could I eat some broccoli to actually fill this other feeling? So for me, it's starting to tune into your intuition, which, it's all about eating for your intuition and asking yourself, where is this desire or craving coming from? you know, we might turn to fast food if we're in a car, right? We're on a long journey. Okay, you know what? Let me get the fast food because in reality, you're not feeling grounded. What
Right.
you really need is to sit down and have a full balanced meal versus reaching for these things because that's going to create more craving.
Yeah.
And also, it doesn't mean I don't eat French fries and a burger because I absolutely do.
Right. Because every once in a while, that's like so there's like a discernment, checking in with your body and deciding like where is it coming from? Because like
Exactly.
yeah, I used to binge eat, and the binge eating ultimately what it boiled down to was I wasn't spiritually nourished. Like I kept trying to nourish myself with all of these other things. So I'm eating this, I'm no, that didn't work. Eating this, overeating so much, and then it's like what I really needed was an Epsom salt bath and a walk in the woods. Like where am I not spiritually
Absolutely.
nourishing myself, and I'm trying to get it taken care of with Pringles and Ben
Yeah.
and Jerry's or whatever, like that kind of
And I,
thing.
I actually I've experienced and I talk about it, the binge eating as well. And ever since now my tongue tie has been released, I've been released from that fully. And I wasn't doing it anymore because I had the conscious awareness, but no longer do I have the desire to do it.
Mm.
And the reason it was happening was because my tongue wasn't resting on the roof of my mouth properly. So I wasn't in connection with my vagus nerve and I would stay in fight or flight. Like I'd get out for a while and then it would come back because my body ultimately wasn't physically aligned. So sometimes there are these deeper things. Like I was just trying to feel. And so many of us right now in this world are just trying to feel. And that's why we turn to things outside of ourselves to feel, whether it be to numb
Yeah.
or to feel, because they're really one and the same. It's the same thing, other side of the spectrum.
Right. Like either not feeling anything at all or feeling so much. Like both of them are like you almost short out and need to disassociate and numb out. Yeah.
Yeah, and it comes back to that spiritual connection and feeling because when I do this work, right, it's easy for me to just have the broths and the teas and stay up here. But then it's like, okay, but can you ground that back? Can you
Mhm.
take God home to you in your root and not just have God up here in your crown, but where
Mhm.
does that land in all areas of your life?
Yeah. Yeah. Fantastic. This has just been such a pleasure chatting.
Yeah, thank you.
If folks wanted to find you online, what's your website?
My website is Lauren Courtney Heals, HEALS.com.
And where can folks find your book?
They can find my book on Amazon, Glow Up Your Chakras from Medicated to Meditated. It's also linked on my website, so you could find it there. It's on my social media. My Instagram is I am Lauren Courtney, and of course, my threads as well.
Lauren, this has just been so fun. I love finding like a fellow practitioner on the path that is doing all the things, and I love meeting other amazing women in the world doing their work
Oh,
and
thank
then
you.
sharing, bringing it back. It's just so cool. There's a lot of hope.
Yeah, there is. Thank you for having me. It's the same reminder for me that it can be a lonely path sometimes. And it's the reminder when we meet people along the way, like, okay, there are other people out here walking the walk too, and you'll continue to meet them at each destination.
So true. So true. Lauren, I wanted to tell you that I love you. God, Universe, Source loves you. And I hope you have a wonderful day.